why? Why are you like this?
Oh gosh, it's that one meme of it's just like Storm Song looks back at the rest of the abs. Why can't you just be normal?
Oh, that one.
Screaming. Cuts to inside the Ox. Looks or you see Diggs looking back at all of the Ox mods. Why can't you just be normal? All screaming. Then it just
Cuts to the BPL.
Looks to Tex, looking back at Tex, yelling, "Why can't you just be normal?"
It's a pyramid scheme of shit posting. Except we're not making any fucking money.
Yep. We have, as a channel, made enough money to not have to pay for things, which is to say, we have an LLC so that I don't have to put my tax information in the channel.
We're moving up in the world.
Yep. Moving on up.
To the south. Man, is anyone gonna get that reference besides us? Well, I bet you Pistol will if he's still in here. I haven't been paying attention to the chat, but God, I used to watch so much TV Land as a kid because my mom would have it on.
Yep, Pistol gets it.
Right on. I figured he would. Used to watch a lot of Bonanza and Gunsmoke because it was on TV.
Yep. All those nuns and guns.
So funny. It's like you see those Western shows and it's just like it all looks like all dramatic. Like you just hear the classic gun noise with a ricochet, and then it's just people falling. And then you watch something like Django Unchained, and it's like, oh, these weapons are horrifying.
Oh yeah. No, there is a long and storied history of people getting fucked up by finding out.
Oh yeah. That reminds me, I need to. I have a Mosin and Gaunt that I need to get some work done on.
That just casually reminds me, I have this war crime waiting to happen. No.
I wouldn't say that. Although it might have. It's an old one, so maybe it actually might have killed people. It's from 39, the rifle itself, and the scope mount is from 42. So because I have a sniper version.
Oh.
Yeah. So I've always wondered, I wonder where this thing has been. But
yeah. Like going through my uncle's war chest after he died. Well, I should clarify, great uncle, but you just say uncle.
Yeah.
And he, I was going through it, and I pull out the bayonet, and I'm looking at it, and I have gloves on because I'm trying not to damage these things. I come from a family of historians. We were pretty good about keeping artifacts and such clean. And I'm looking at it, and I notice there's a little bit of rust, and so I pull out, magnifying glass to kind of look at it, see if it's something that can be cleaned, or if I should just leave it be. And I realize that's not rust. Oh. Just put it back in the chest very slowly.
This has done some things, hasn't it?
He fought in Vietnam. So.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Sweet man. It's just you learn these things right, everyone, was in the military at the time probably had to do some shit.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's the guys that come back and don't want to talk about it, there's a reason for that. The ones that do want to talk about it are full of shit usually.
Mm-hmm. Well, or
at least certain parts of it, but yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is that a lot of times they're more willing to talk about it if you're not their family.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, because a lot of times they're disturbed, in the domestic space by it.
Yeah, it's the whole thing, which that was one thing that I thought I really liked that was explained with the when Tex did the BattleTech video on the clans about how the Star League was all those people who had been fighting for literally decades at that point suddenly just had to live a normal life. That's something that sticks with a person, living through those kinds of horrors. So I can understand why people couldn't just start fresh and just live and let live, you know.
Oh yeah, like
And I'm not someone that serves, so I'm not trying to like talk shit like I know shit. I'm just saying like I can imagine how that must be like, you know.
oh yeah, yeah. And like I had a coworker who I won't say his name, but um he came from the Balkans.
Oh,
He and his wife moved here in the 90s, late 90s
ah,
from the Balkans.
I wonder
And
why.
yeah. And the man knew about some things, and generally you could hear him if you were paying attention, say something about it and kind of put it together, but it was wise to never actually directly ask him about it.
Yeah,
um
it's
and it, and like the one little bit of happy ending to all that is, he's like, he said on one occasion something that it didn't really fully click to me what he meant about it, but like, just always be willing to fight for something that's important to you, which, that sounds like
yeah,
pretty normal bog standard, life advice from anywhere. But then you see this guy with his 10-year-old kid, who's going to school in America, and like, huh, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be physical fighting. It's just like whatever
Oh yeah.
is important to you, like go for it. Like,
Yeah, like
I mean,
yeah.
I will say this right now. I mean, like sitting here in this chat, like I never would have expected myself to be here, not even like 2 years ago, because I was at a point in my life where I like to draw, but I also felt like I wasn't that good, and I just like I could never compete with people that were out there doing stuff, you know. And I will say that since joining the Aux and just the amount of things that people have like I've shared and just like created for people, it's really helped me to realize that you don't have to be the best to do something, but like
Oh yeah.
if you enjoy something, just to do it, you know. It's I mean
Step one. Yeah, step one on getting good at anything: be shitty.
yeah, yeah.
That is literally step one.
I,
It will always
I
be
will I
step
will
one.
say I do not consider myself an amazing artist by any stretch. I'm not like I know there's plenty of other people that are way better at understanding things about drawing than I am out there, but I enjoy the stuff that I make, and you know I look back at art that I've done just not even like a couple years ago, and I can see an improvement there, and I think it's like you just have to
Oh yeah.
compete with with the guy you are at the moment, you know. Just make
Yeah.
what you're doing better than what you've done previously. Try something new with everything, and you don't have to sit there and draw like. I mean, you can take classes and do studies and things. Don't get me wrong, but you don't have to sit there and just practice and practice and practice just the same things over and over again, because that'll make you hate art. Find a way to do things where you can practice something that you want to learn, but in a way that you enjoy. That's the way I've found things. You know,
Oh yeah.
like I
And
never
like that.
really did
And that.
perspective before
Yeah, and
this.
that's yeah,
You
and
know,
that's how I learned how to do music. That's how I learned how to do
yeah.
anything.
Exactly, you know, like just learning perspective when it came to drawing. Granted, I'm doing digital, so that makes things a lot easier versus doing it by hand. But I never really practiced perspective before I started doing a lot of this comic stuff, and now that I am doing it, you know, I've started to get more into doing it, and that's helped a lot with the things that I draw.
Yeah.
As long as you're having fun doing it, that's the important thing. You know, you don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel every single day with things. There's plenty of days where I don't feel like doing shit. It's just a matter of finding finding that strength to get back on to doing things, really. And
Yeah.
sometimes it helps to step away. You know, that's honestly a thing I have a hard time doing. You know.
Oh yeah. Like there was a brief period where, uh, my my setting, that I go on about Shattered Throne, like
Yeah.
that got bogged down for a while, where I could not think about it, without just kind of having these sort of micro panic attacks about it will never get done. It's too big.
Yeah.
And the best thing that I was able to do for myself, and this is going to sound like cringe, but hear me out here. I seriously just went and started writing a pony fan fiction to get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
No, I get that.
Suddenly, like, everything unglued in my head, the dam broke, and I was like, oh. And, it wasn't wasted time, because a lot of their from that fiction got,
Yeah.
adjusted into human form, and I shouldn't say fan fiction, it was, like, original characters and stuff, but it was, a pony story, so it was, like, not something I was going to publish outside of a fan fiction-esque environment.
Yeah. No, I get you. I mean, for me, like, the other comic project I'm working on, it's a very involved setting that is something that I've built up over a long time of just thinking about things and drawing sketches of things. And it has gone through so many revisions and changed so much since I've really started wanting to crystallize things, because I've always had, like, ideas for stories in my head, but at a certain point I just really wanted to start focusing in on things. And there's plenty of times where I just got so caught up in the weeds, but it's taking a step away from that, I think, really has helped in a lot of ways, because it gives you time to reorient your thoughts on the matter, or try other things. Like, I mean, the comic project that I want to work on after this is one I've had in my head since college. In terms of the version that I have now, it's been so many other versions before this, but just it was something that I think needed to take some time to mature into the idea that it is now. I want to say, I still sketch stuff that I thought would look cool in the setting and everything, but the setting and story itself has changed a lot over the years in so many different ways, to a point where it's at now. It's like way more coherent, because there's so much experience put into it, not just like storytelling stuff, but life experience, things that I've seen in my lifetime, just things to just like inspire it. And it's something that I'm really looking forward to working on once I finish this comic project, which this is the last version, or the last issue of it. So I'm hoping to get this done by the end of the year and then really start going into full bore with that. I've actually got Helion helping me to co-write it. Which that's one of the things that I really love about being in the Aux, is you find people that you can really connect with that really help bring out the best in you with creating things. And he and I will talk a lot about things, and at one point I really wanted to bring him on to help write things. I think it was if you listen to the Aux Unplugged podcast, which I'm on, surprisingly, I know, if you know who I am, but the episode where we did our shakeup of Star Wars, and Halion did the thing about the scour, the what if about this just this virus that just completely just wipes out the Republic, and just really just flips the setting on its head. Like, when he read that in that moment, I was like, I want this guy to help me write with my setting, because I have ideas, but trying to crystallize things has always been difficult. And I found that since we started shooting ideas back and forth, it's just so many things have clicked together through just collaborating. It really helps to have people that you really connect with, just to, if nothing else, just to shoot ideas around with.
Well, that, and like, there is such a thing as people who know how to carry a project entirely by themselves, but truth be told, they are utterly rare. I tried to do that myself, and they do not exist frequently in the material realm. And the truth is, most projects are best served by having usually 2 or 3 people involved in them.
Absolutely.
Like, and I say 3, 2 is generally a good number to start with, because finding another person you gel with enough to do art with is already difficult.
Yeah.
But then 3 is where you kind of have especially if you can all fill the roles of, like, starter, carrier, closer.
Yeah. Or just, I mean, hit with, like, he's more of a writer, I'm more of an artist. I mean, I do some writing as well. A lot of the stuff that we bounce back and forth on is things I've already had established, but having a person to help you along with something, they can really bring foresight into enhancing your ideas that you never really thought of. I don't. The thing is, I don't want to like get too into things we've talked about because I don't want to spoil my own story. But there's ideas I've had where he says something that just makes things click for the idea of I've had, and it just like we build off of that. And that's the great thing about collaborating with people. Is if you find like a person that you really gel with like that, it really helps bring ideas forward. I will be right back. I have to use the lavatory.
He's gonna go use the little boy's room. Hey there, chat. How you doing today? Feeling all right? You wearing that special tuxedo just for me? Oh yeah. I see how you look at me. I know what you're all about. I'm fine with it. I enjoy being the object of your desire. For only $9.99 a month for the rest of your life, I can say a single word to you, and you'll love me for it. God, there's actually people out there who'd like pay for that. I just upset myself. I'm sorry, Chad.
Why are you scuttling?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I am back. What I miss?
Hey there. I was attempting to do ASMR, creeped myself out, and then screamed.
Oh man, that reminds me of this one time when I was a kid. Did you watch Goosebumps, right?
Camp.
No, well that's a whole other thing.
Okay, you say Goosebumps?
Yeah.
Yes, I watched some of it.
Do you remember? Did you ever see the episode where this girl's like trying to find a really spooky mask for Halloween, and she finds like this goblin mask, and it like gets stuck to her face?
Yeah, I do remember that one.
My sister had that mask when we were kids, and the one time I wanted to scare her with it, so I hid in her closet till she came in the room, and then when she did, I jumped out and screamed at her. But it echoed in the mask, and it scared me too, and I started crying. Oh God, I was so little too then. Is like looking back on it though, it's so funny. I used to scare the shit out of her. She has a cardboard cutout of Legolas from Lord of the Rings she got, and I used to stick that in front of the bathroom door every time she'd go in there. It would scare her every time. It was so funny. The fun things we do to our siblings.
Yes.
It's a little uncomfortable, the energy on that, but it's like I need an adult.
I am an adult. Oh God!
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that. Well, I was thinking the same thing though.
It's now the proper response. It's part of our meme culture.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Speaking of Team 4-Star, did you ever watch their playthrough of Fallout 4?
I don't think I have, no.
Oh man. It's a long series, but the one episode of it, if you Google Team 4-Star, the kickball incident,
oh no.
That is the point in their playthrough where things took a turn.
I should look that up.
Yeah, it's something fun to watch later. Somebody made a version of it where they just did like the highlight reel, and it was playing someone's like dramatic cover of "Paint It Black" by the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my favorite version, or not favorite, the most recent thing of theirs I've seen was oh God, what's it called?
I haven't watched it.
It was their version of Final Fantasy VII.
I've never played Final Fantasy.
Really?
Never really was my game. If I'm being honest, I'm not really a big JRPG guy. It just always seems so strange to me with a lot of this stuff.
That's fair. Like, I would say
Yeah.
7, not as a JRPG, but just as kind of a fantasy setting, is really worth examining at some point. But I'm also
I
being a fanboy.
yeah.
I am the ultraist of Final Fantasy VII fanboys. The fanboying will be intense.
Yeah.
It will be
Oh,
unlimited,
that's
and
fun.
it will be without mercy.
It's also why I'm being very polite in my words right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I played a lot of like, God, for context, the first game I ever bought for our Xbox was Mech Assault, the original Mech Assault game, which is how I got into BattleTech. But a lot of the games I played growing up are like shooters and things. Halo, the Call of Duty games, just like a bunch of random. Oh, Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast. That was another one in Jedi Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Back when we still had Pandemic Studios, R.I.P.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, God, those games were so much fun. What was really fun about them was that you could get other weapons besides the lightsaber, so it's like, I have a disruptor rifle now. Yeah, but I only really started getting super into computer games when I was in like middle school, because I actually, for Christmas the one year, I asked for a desktop computer, because I kept trying to run games on our family computer. Didn't work very well.
Yeah, they have habits.
Yeah, I remember. Oh man, I remember when I got Command and Conquer 3, which is the last good Command and Conquer game EA made, in my opinion, unless you're into Red Alert. But that's not a fight I want to have today. But I like pre-ordered that game a year in advance to work on our family computer. I think I actually bought a new graphics card for it, and it was so chuggingly slow on it when we got that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I got like it was when I got the orange box in Half-Life 2 that I was like, I want my own computer. I'm so tired of this.
Yeah.
And my current computer I've had, I think, since like 2020, which, man, I bought my parts at the right time because they'd all got expensive after I did.
I had to hold off on buying my new graphics card because my current one worked fine. I just need to replace it here soon, but I had new microphones for the studio, so
I got my new my current graphics card for my which I originally installed on my previous computer because the old one died. I got that in, I think, January of 2020, so right before COVID hit. So then I just like got the rest of the parts over the rest of the year, which thank God I did, because like once 2021 rolled around, all that stuff just got through the roof expensive.
Well, yeah, what with all the what do you call it?
The crypto heads.
Yeah, the crypto craze.
Man, I had a friend of mine who kept trying to get me into crypto and NFTs, and I was just like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, like you know what you're doing. Like you were clearly able to do something with it, but there are people that like just overbought on that shit.
Oh God, yeah. I didn't know what the hell was going on with most of that stuff.
Like I knew a guy who did pretty good with it, but he was one of the lucky ones. / probably one of the more well-researching ones.
Yeah. I think most people saw it as a get-rich-quick scheme when it wasn't.
Oh, yeah. No.
As it usually goes with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's like, why the hell isn't my mouse moving? Oh, right. I left the stylus on my pad. It's the mouse in place.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that before.
Like, the fuck?
Oh, man. I will never get a wireless keyboard. I'm just going to say that. I tried one once, and I broke it because I was so mad because it was lagging back when I played Overwatch.
Mm.
It would like lag key inputs, and I like at one point I like hit it and it broke the stands on it. Yeah. But not I just use wired keyboard and mouse just because I know it's not gonna have any input lag.
Yeah.
My tablet is wired by design, so yeah, tactical tablet.
Tactical battle damage.
Oh man, you just reminded me. I remember when they still made Gundam action figures. They had that one line of them where it was like they all had battle damage to them. Like you could like swap out
karate chop action.
There's like you could swap out limbs to be blown off and shit.
Yeah.
Now I just try to like do weathering myself when I paint my minis. I'm okay at it. I tend to use a lot of washes.
Have you watched the anime Berserk?
I've seen clips of it, and that's made me not want to watch it because of certain scenes in it that I don't think would be comfortable with. You probably know the one I'm thinking of.
I can think of several.
That scene,
but...
the scene, the one that kind of is, yeah,
the scene, yeah, the scene,
yeah.
No,
I'm not really a fantasy guy to begin with, but it's just like this is a little too real for me to want to watch.
And to be fair, it's why I wouldn't necessarily recommend Berserk for everyone. It is definitely
At least it's open and honest about it. Versus like Goblin Slayer, where it's like, oh, we're gonna be super edgy and it's gonna be like Berserk, and then it just turns into like a harem anime for some reason.
Yeah, no, Berserk is not trying to be edgy. It's examining.
It's just grim.
Dark.
It's very grim.
Matters.
Yes, it is.
But I finally put my finger on what I really don't like about the character designs between the original version and the more recent version. And it basically had to do with, in the original version, Griffith looked kind of elfin and otherworldly, and you could call that effeminate to a degree, but it wasn't, ladylike. In the new version, Two just looks like a lady.
I see.
But yeah, and like if you're into lady dudes, that's fine. But like,
it's just like it's a bit different from where it was. I get what you're saying.
Like
it's like
I did not need to see his lips in that high of
detail. Yeah, I know. It's like oh man, I want to talk about like the new Little Mermaid movie, but I don't want to get too into the weeds with that. I just like saying I can understand why people are upset with it, but it's more of like the fact that it's a live action movie than anything. That I'm more just like, why are they doing this?
I just don't much care for Disney anymore, and like
jeez, neither do I.
and it kind of comes down to a few things, and like I won't get too chumbawamba here about it, but like whatever you do or don't agree with, I feel like Disney is very disingenuous in what it presents itself as.
They very much pander to the crowds that they want the attention from, and it's like not actually sympathetic to said groups. Yeah,
and so like, if I was part of those groups, I would be offended. And
that's the thing too.
Yeah, and I have friends who are part of those groups, and on their behalf, I am a little bit offended.
Yeah,
because
it turns it into a fad in a sense, versus like something that's actually important.
And not just a fad, but it's like we're going to push for let's call it diversity for the moment. But then we're also going to remove all of the black people from the cover of a movie for China.
Yeah, yes, very much hypocritical.
Like that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, if they were just pandering, that'd be one thing, but it's pandering and then doing that.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I actually, when it first came out, when The Force Awakens came out, because I still was like, all right, this was different, but I liked it. I still kind of like it, even though it's basically just a retread of A New Hope. But it's like, I liked Finn as a character. I liked the idea of him being a stormtrooper that turned away from that life, and the idea of him becoming a Jedi, like they were implying, I really liked that idea. I thought that would have been an amazing character. But then they decided to kind of veer away from that because, not to get too chumbawamba with it, like you said, they don't want to now play things for China, Yeah.
And unfortunately, China still has problems in that area. We do too, like everyone.
Yeah, but let's not get into that.
Some more than others, yeah.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying. It's just like, it's so disingenuous. It's like they act like they're they're supporting whatever X or Y, but then they do things that just kind of show it's just like they're just in it for the money. They don't care anything about what they're preaching, which just goes to show why you gotta have a good moral compass with that shit, and just in general with if you're doing something creative, you know.
Yeah.
That's
and that's where, like, when I say that I really just do not invest in, like, artists being activists, that's not to say, like, don't put something you believe to be truly right or wrong in what you're writing, but don't be ham-fisted about it, because
that's the thing. That is the thing.
At best, you preach to the choir, and at worst, you push people away.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a big fan of what you might call, like, certain things, but then I watched, what's it called, Steven Universe. And Steven Universe, fan base and all that aside, really well done. And it actually gave me a bit of sympathy for some of these other, thought processes I don't share. And it didn't persuade me or anything, but it was creative, original, and not preachy.
And that's the thing. It's like I've seen examples of things where it's like super preachy and it's turned me off to something, but I've seen the same subject matter tackled in a different medium with a meaningful character, and it's like I've felt the sympathy through that, and I think that's a big thing when it comes to art. It's like a lot of times when with most mainstream stuff, they'll make a character for the sake of inclusivity of X or Y, but it's so disingenuous because it's not actually showing what it's like the person's dealing with. It's just saying it in a in a certain way. I don't necessarily want to get too into the weeds on this, but I can think of an example of it where with a certain issue. But I don't want to let's not get too into it because I don't want to get too chumble-wumble with things. But I'll just say that if you're gonna tackle an issue, at least give it a perspective where it's something that people can empathize with, And if you don't necessarily understand that perspective, maybe talk to people that have that perspective. I'm not saying go to the Library of Congress and like do hours of research like Gandalf poring over books in that one scene from Lord of the Rings, but it just put some thought into things, I guess,
Yeah.
Or get some perspective, and that's why, like getting perspective outside yourself. I think that's what really helps with a lot of that stuff. If there's something that you want to try and portray, there's examples of things out there you can look at. As boring as research can be, it helps sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't have to go overboard with it, because then that's when you get lost in the details of things, and then it can get ham-fisted.
DMing you a silly thing here, because silly thing is DMable.
Yes.
And I think you'll appreciate it. You've seen any of the new Tears of the Kingdom stuff?
The Zelda game. I know of it. I'm not really into Zelda. I've never played a Zelda game, to be honest.
That's right. You said you're not big on fantasy. Okay, anyway, so I just thought you'd appreciate this drawing. Somebody decided to take the whole concept of him being able to bind things to other things and decided, we're going to turn Link into Chainsaw Man now.
Oh, God. That's horrifying.
It's wrong, but I'm kind of here for it.
Look, all I'm saying is if I saw that outside, I would either close the door or I would be like, where's my gun?
Yeah.
Perhaps both in the same movement.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man is, let's call it a body horror anime.
Yeah, I'm vaguely familiar with it. I haven't watched it, but I can see what you mean there.
I haven't watched it myself yet, but it is on my list. Some people
I will say that
have it. Yeah.
Body horror is a very proud tradition in Japan. What movie with like the Iron Man, I think it's called?
Oh yeah, and then things like Old Boy and Japanese horror has no concept of chill. Is how
it's not Japanese horror, but I just remember the Bone Tomahawk. I don't want to think about that movie. I never watched it, but I saw the one scene from it. That scene, if you've seen that movie,
Yeah.
it gets real gruesome at points, and not in like a fun Sam Raimi kind of way. It's more like this is horrific kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like how we're
Sam
basically
Raimi.
giving movie disc recommendations. It's like, don't watch this if you want to like not have horrific flashbacks.
Well, you know, one of the things there is that a lot of people, they really get into the thing they're into, and I get it. We are all fans of things. Not everyone is ready for some of the things you may be a fan of. I really like Invincible. Yeah. I will not advise that show to a lot of people.
Yeah, it gets real 0 to 100.
Yeah, it as my friend who you'll meet, Agent Juice, put it, it has no chill.
That's the same thing. Like I've heard people recommend The Boys. I'm familiar with it. It looks fun, but it's just like there's certain things in that I really don't want to see. Like
with The Boys. Okay, so now I'm gonna get into the weeds for a second. The Boys, and this is not really about politics now. This is more about like things that I just do not, really like in modern media. Whereas Invincible is harsh. It is harsh. The Boys is nihilistic.
Yeah,
and
that's
not in a good way. Like,
no, I agree with you.
It's like nothing matters kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's that's something that I've honestly been more conscious of and more against now that I notice it more, is just like the nihilism of a lot of shit. Like, I don't like Rick and Morty, and that was even before the show went downhill with things. I don't like when shows are just completely just about nihilism, like nothing matters, just completely edgy bullshit. I have a view of storytelling and just art and expression in general where maybe more sort of storytelling, I want to say, because I can understand if you need certain stories where, you have moments of sadness and things, you have hardships and tragedies where things go through. It's understandable. Suffering is universal. We all have our own shit we go through one way or another. But yeah. I think the point of a lot of stories is that stories culturally are meant to inspire us, meant to give us a spark in a certain way, depending on the subject, to change the world around us to a degree. It doesn't have to be a huge degree. It's just like the things that we see in our culture are reflective of the stories that we tell, and vice versa as well. I feel like even if it's fiction, the things that we take away from the stories that we view or read or what have you, they're things that can really influence us in our day-to-day, and it can be anybody, Like, think of how many pop culture things affect our perception of things in the world today,
Oh, yeah.
So, I feel like stories need to be, at least have some sort of hopeful or helpful takeaway from them. I think it needs to be something that can help us grow as people, Even if it's a funny story or anything. It's just like, even if it's like makes you laugh or just like gives you like a warm feeling to live back to it, like a positive experience, Oh, yeah. So when you have these stories where it's like Rick and Morty, where it's just always just like the most serious, edgy, just nihilistic shit, it's just like this is just toxic to people. This isn't helping anybody.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's why, for example, like, for different reasons here and there, people will ask me, like, would you say you should let, a kid watch this, or would you advise this to a friend? Like, a lot of the consideration I make isn't just the direct content, but what that content is telling.
Yeah.
Like, Rick and Morty, I just don't advise to anyone. Yes, it is in fact funny. It is well written in that regard. I feel depressed if I watch enough of it.
I just get angry at it, because it's just like, why are you guys being such dickheads? Really?
Yeah, and then, being as into anime as I am, like, I really like the animes, Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia. And part of that is because, as gruesome as those can be at parts, and they can be, they're all about, people who, in spite of whatever they've gone through, wanting to rise above it and help other people.
You just reminded me of Madoka Magica, which is like Sailor Moon meets Apocalypse Now.
I've heard that. That's probably not an inapt description.
It's definitely one of those that I'm not like a big anime guy. That's one of those ones that have stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, damn, this is a hell of a story. But, sorry, go on. I'm just going off on tangents.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of those things where it's like, one of the ladies from my church, she was like, would you let a 10-year-old watch this? And because she doesn't, watch a lot of cartoons, but she doesn't want to just, outright say, no cartoons or whatever. And so she'll actually ask me because she knows, how into cartoons I am. And I'm like...
You look the part, let's just say.
Yeah, I look the part. And she, she'll ask me and I'll be like, okay, so I'm not going to say an unqualified no, but if he is going to watch it, there should be some adult supervision because, there is this heavy concept that a kid might need assistance in digesting, or, okay, no, that is actually a good story for someone to watch, but he's not old enough yet to know, and, like, I don't even think there's a point of old enough for that. That's, that's just not good food, as it were.
I either stuff didn't affect me as much or I missed out on the more heavy shit when I was a kid, because the only real instance I can think of something that I saw just like really sticking with me to a degree where I'm just like, holy shit, was when I watched The Matrix for the first time, and I saw when Neo gets unplugged from the Matrix, just like the idea that life can be a simulation like that just like really hit me hard for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit of a thing. Oh, hey, Andy, I just noticed you were in chat.
Oh, hey, Andy.
He calls us doodlebugs.
We are doodlebugs.
Doodly 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 doodly.
I haven't even... You're drawing too right now, right?
Yeah.
I haven't even seen what you've been working on.
Here. I have it in the Discord.
Oh, right. Hold on. Oh, God, Chainsaw Man.
You just saw the picture, finally.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's looking really nice, man.
Yeah. That's the piece I started on last week. I was talking about of the kind of tactical gear, but he'll have like tribal symbols and such.
It definitely gives me that vibe of like the definitely for airsoft kind of stuff. You draw a lot more realistic than I do. I'll say that much.
Yeah, it's obsession.
That's fair. That's fair.
I need to train myself down to like doing simpler things.
Yeah,
but
I get that.
When I first started drawing, I fell in love with armor, and I really love giving armor detail.
Dude, you should see the sketchbooks upon sketchbooks upon sketchbooks I have of power armor and like armored suits and stuff. I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I honestly think like part of it was just the environment I grew up in, but I think that a lot of my graphic design stuff has kind of helped a lot with the way I draw, just the way that I sort of see things.
Yeah.
So well, I'm glad I can at least take something away from my degree besides that.
Yeah, many of us have that feeling.
Yeah, I will say that I'm probably, I feel like I'm a bit better off than some people. I know people that are like over $100,000. I'm just like, just like, no, thank you.
Oh yeah, no, I really hope for some of them. Like, I hope it turns out, dude, because like, spend a lot of money on that degree.
Yeah, it's unfortunately in my case it didn't necessarily work out. I did some stuff in my field, but it wasn't stuff that I enjoyed, and it was a unpleasant experience with some of the jobs that I took. But most of the time it was just I didn't even hear back from places. I would literally like go to places physically and just like walk in and see if I could talk to people, and never would. I would like maybe get once or twice, but I would never really hear back from that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, it is what it is, I guess, but it's still just, it sucked.
Yeah.
When I actually did get some graphic design work, I was like, I realized, like, I don't want to do this for a living. This is really soul crushing.
Especially in, like, say, the corporate sphere of it, yes, quite much.
I'm so glad. I never got into the corporate sphere that deep, and thank God, because I would have hated it. It's like, I don't mind doing commissions and stuff, but I definitely would not want to do, like, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one place I worked was really, like, rough like that, where they said there's like, yeah, we'll train you from the ground up, we'll help you ease in your position, and then they just basically kind of threw me to the wolves with shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would go to my boss like asking about certain things, and then at one point she's like, I can't sit here and spoon feed you all this information. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, they ended up letting me go from that place, and honestly, I was just like so relieved on the way home from that. I was like, I don't have to go back there. Oh man, it's already 5:30. We've been going for a while.
Oh yeah. No, I'm actually checking on my co-hosts for the next stream.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm running out of steam here, so if we want to call it here, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. And I will. Yeah. Sorry, brain is slow right now.
Oh, that's okay. It happens.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, thank you for stopping by.
And yeah, we'll see you next week. Well, I'll see you all in a few 30 minutes.
I will see you next week.
Yep. And we will be playing Persona 5.
Oh boy.
Or, as I put it, Pokemon, but where your trauma are the Pokemon.
Ah! PTSD, I choose you!
No, like, literally. And the bad guys are commensurate. So, anyways,
wow.
Thank you for joining us, guys, and you all have a good one.
Goodbye!